What's up, gente? What's up, Raza? I want to talk about religion today. Specifically, I want to talk about the Catholic Church. I want to talk about the Pope. I want to talk about why us as Chicanos, as Razas, indigenous people really should, pay attention at this time. And if anything, why we need to act in these times, especially with the current madman in the White House, right? Just for those who don't know, religion, Catholicism specifically. I'm going to touch on that because of what the news about the Pope and going at it with Trump, and also Chicano and indigenous people. We a lot of us were colonized not just by religious zealots from Europe and England, for example, but also by the Catholic Church and the Españoles, Portuguese, etc., who were representatives of the Pope at the time, 500 plus years ago when they came to this continent. For those who don't know the history of the Chicano movement, the history of Raza, when the Españoles came, when the conquistadores came, when the Europeans came, they brought with them a religion that they imposed on us, and that they used as a way to gain our trust, but also to keep us oppressed, to keep us ignorant, and keep us stupid. Now the English didn't want to, mix with indigenous people or others, so they try to keep their purebred, uh, people. And with the Españoles, they actually, committed war crimes and took advantage of the women, many of them. That doesn't mean that a lot of us are not indigenous. No, we're still indigenous, and that's part of the problem. Is some people try to claim that they're European, claim that they're Hispanic. That's a misleading word right there. Claim that they are, followers of, of the Españoles because they're part of that. These are people who, unfortunately, there's some people who do fall that in that category. But the truth is, there's some people who are just, playing out ignorant, and they don't want to, face the truth that we were, colonized using religion and the language, etc. But having said that, that little background in history, here is my point about religion. First and foremost, uh, we as Chicano activists, as brown berets, and as organizers, and those of us who take, this serious, we cannot afford to alienate people who are, Catholic or religious for that reason or that matter. When we start posting stuff, for example, taking shots at the Catholic Church, yes, a lot of the Catholic Church has done a lot of wrong throughout history and has done a lot of wrong to the people, indigenous people around the world. But we have to be wiser than that. We cannot be posting and taking shots at the church, and religion specifically, taking shots even at, the Virgin Mary or Jesus or whatever, thinking that, hey, it's cool what we did. We just took a shot, decolonize our culture, decolonize our mind. Yes, decolonize, but don't be a fool and an ignorant fool taking a shot at the religion and the religious beliefs, because some people still believe in it, including the same people we claim that we want to help unite, organize, and lead, into the right paths, better lives, and I learned a long time ago. I was mad. I was angry when I learned my real history. I have a friend named Lala. By the way, Lala, this is dedicated for you, because we had a discussion about this. I love Lala. She's always online. She's got a lot of great things to say. But I reminded her too of how I had my I hate white people phase. I was so angry at white people, Europeans, and what they did to us. But you got to go beyond that, right? And look at the material world and look at what's happening. The truth is, this material world, a lot of people have faith with, and it's not just Catholicism, and Christianity. It's also Islam, is Judaism, and Buddhism. Any kind of religious beliefs that they have, we may not agree with them, but they have them. Even Jehovah Witness, right? Now, some people are atheists, and some people don't believe, aren't convinced that there's a current God as the way it's described. But then, there's other people who are indigenous, who have decolonized, who follow the Red Road, and others who are Black revolutionaries or from Africana backgrounds who don't buy into the religions, and that's fine. That's okay. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying here is there's a lot of good people out there who do follow Catholicism and other religions at this moment, and there will be, because it provides them with a sense of belonging, a sense of community, and a sense of power. So, within the Brown Berets, we recently had an incident where somebody posted something ignorant online, and one of our members went at it, and they lost their cool because they took that serious, right? Because some brown berets are still Catholics and Christians, and others, and are of different faiths or none at all. And with that said, we got to be wiser than that. A lot of the people out there don't know the difference between decolonizing this or decolonizing that. They simply want to feed their kids. They simply want to have shelter and keep their families together. They simply want to get, from point A to point B to make sure that their family doesn't fall apart economically. So having said that, that one point about religion, to our gente, to our activists out there, organizers, make sure you're on the side of the people. Just be wise, be on the side of the people. You may not agree with the people on religion. I know I don't, but that doesn't mean we take a shot at an entire religion. We take a shot at at everybody. As a matter of fact, I want to make this post now. I want to switch it up and say what I expect from religions, especially Catholics and Christians, especially at this time with this crazy madman in the White House. Because if in case you haven't seen it, it's not the first time Trump posted a picture of himself as Jesus. That's not the first time posting pictures of himself as a king, as a god, or whatever. So having said that, I really hope that our Catholic and Christian brothers and sisters out there and other religions, that they do take a more active role, that they step up in these times and don't remain quiet. Because there's some religions out there, specifically, I know, I have family who are Jehovah Witness too, and a lot of them don't even believe in getting involved with the political system, the revolutionary change that needs to happen, not just politically, but also decolonizing themselves to the point where they don't believe in taking a stand other than what their God tells them to. And that's fine. But you got to go beyond that, because the material world requires that you do get involved. And I'll make this point here. Uh, Catholics and Christians, the most socialist person in the world, guess who that is? The most socialist teachings in the world, guess what that is when it comes to religion? It's Christianity. It's Catholicism. Communal. What do you think when you? I was just in a church yesterday for a family event. It was beautiful to be there with my family and people I hadn't seen in a long time. It was dedicated to lost past family members who I lost, including my mother. But while there, we read this scripture there, or the priest read this scripture. It was a Catholic priest, and he talked about, in the scripture they talked about selling off your possessions and coming with the bare minimum and each according to their need. Boom, 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 boom. So it was really interesting. I'm poking my sister along at the same time. I say, hey, because she's strong Catholic. I said, look, look, and I poked at her to point out how this is important, because this is what it's all about. It's communal, right? Coming together, and that's where you get the word communism, or socialism. So, one of the most radical socialists was Jesus Christ. And I know this is controversial for some people to hear, but it's the truth. If you truly do understand how community works and how indigenous people came together and how they didn't charge their kids for food, they didn't charge people, they didn't hoard everything, they shared it. That's what it meant to be indigenous. You'll understand that sharing and taking care of the needy and taking care of those who, according to their need, obviously, and selling off your possessions, like it was read in that scripture yesterday, was an example of people not being selfish, not needing all these material things, and trying to help the least, right? The poor, the needy. And so that's an important part that I want to say to my religious, revolutionary or non-revolutionary brothers and sisters, especially you guys, you all out there, I should say, who are non-revolutionary, who still go to church, who claim to care for poor people. I want you to step up. This is the time to step up, because I'm stepping up for you and have been for years, ever since I started going to Cuba and thinking about some of this back in 2015. And I was thinking about this even before that. What is it that about the people? How can we reach the people? One of the things you can't exclude is religion, because no matter what we think as revolutionary, as activists, as organizers, as brown berets, if the people are with the church and follow that, if the people in the communities, the vast majority, are with any church or religious belief, we need to meet them there. We need to meet them where they're at. We need to respect that, and maybe someday some of them will see that, hey, the religion isn't the only way. There's other material ways to change the world, right? but at the same time, we cannot dismiss them. We cannot disregard them. We should not offend them. And so for anybody who might post something stupid under the name of Chicanismo or indigenous, you know what? Be careful what you post because you're going to lose a lot of people you claim to want to lead or claim to lead in the first place. And so, with that said, I'm going to keep this short. I just want people to know religion is a powerful tool. Many people have exploited it and use it. Religion is a powerful means of getting things done. And for some people, it's something they sincerely believe in. And there's nothing wrong with that. With any religion or spiritual belief, there's nothing wrong with that. It makes us a powerful people. My experiences in Cuba has shown me and proven to me my experiences in Mexico City have shown and proven that the people who want change are also some of the same people that are the most conservative and the most religious. And with that said, I want you all to think about that because I am going to talk about a little bit more about this topic the times come. Like I said, this channel is about big ideas, not about individuals. The clown in the White House, the monster in the White House, running his mouth and trying to portray himself as Jesus. That's a madman. He's Looney Tunes, right? But the truth is, there's a greater discussion that needs to be had, and that's on religion. So to my brown berets out there, to my fellow activists out there, don't post anything foolish. Don't do anything foolish. Don't react to anything foolish either, because some people are just trying to bait you. But yeah, be careful because our people are still part of those institutions, and we have to respect that, right? With that said, I just want to say que viva la raza, all power to the people, and oh, I'm out of here.